so ridiculous.
All right.
All right.
You ready to go live?
I am ready to go live.
Clicking the button.
Clicking the button. So many buttons to click. Oh, is the host stuff at the bottom again?
What's that?
Yeah, I know we're live. Is the host stuff at the bottom again? No.
Right at the
Okay. Right at the top. Okay. Scrolling. Oh, this is terrible. Are we live?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're live. Yep.
Oh, we're live. Okay. Well, welcome to Slamfire Radio, episode 318, Three Gun Rule Sets in Canada for August 22nd, 2019. What we did with guns.
You're one of our hosts.
No, I'm one of our hosts, Random Dave.
And I'm one Adriel.
I can't even say this is my first day.
No, you can't.
It's my first day with a camera, though.
It is, and
So
now
there you
everyone
go.
can see you. I was thinking, man, I got to get you to change your background to the Slamfire Radio logo or something like that. But this is better. This is way better.
I tried changing it to a guy with a bag on his head with a gun, but I couldn't actually figure out how to change it. So I don't know. My Google Fool has failed me. Well, I didn't actually care that much, so I didn't bother trying. But I thought about it. I don't know if that counts or not.
It does. It does.
All right. Well, let's go on with it. What we did with guns. That was what we did in guns. Okay. What we did with guns this week, brought to you by the Calgary Shooting Center, Canada's premier firearms retailer. Right now, they've got the blacked out Glock 48 in Ameriglow, and contrast.
It's blacked. Yeah,
It's black.
So instead of having, because they've all had that stainless steel top, right? The slide on it's always been that shiny. I think the black ones are stainless steel as well, but they've got that coating on them so that they're not so shiny, blingy.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one upsets me. Because every time I use the little joke about get rid of that nickel-plated sissy pistol and get yourself a Glock, and guys are like, "Hey, guess what I got?" It ruins my joke.
Well, your joke can come back in now because they've got the black version.
Yes. Excellent. What else we got? Adriel,
Yes.
what'd you do with guns?
All right, let's go through a couple. I talked to this guy a while ago about my BCL 102, so I put it up for sale on CGN, and there's this guy. He's like, "Hey, I've been making M1s. I get Breda receivers, new barrel, new wood, and build these M1s. Do you want to trade an M1 in 308 for your BCL 102?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, get back into a Garand because I've had Garands before, most of them in 30-06. So a 308 would be cool.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper. I got a bunch of 308 anyways, so cool. Yeah, I mean, if it gets here, it's supposed to be here tomorrow, so maybe I'll use that for hunting season this year. Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Hunt with
Shoot deer
Garand.
with the Garand.
Better be German deers.
Yeah. I think now in Alberta here, we're limited to 5 rounds in the mag for hunting, so I'll have to do the 5-round N block trick. Dave, do you know where I can find N blocks online in Canada?
I haven't looked for any in a long time. I'm sure somebody listening could probably tell you. Maybe Marstar? Marstar would probably have them.
Maybe. If any of your listeners know, let me know on the side chat on YouTube there, and I would love to pick a whole pile of them up because I got a whole pile of 308 ammo. I got a whole pile of Milsurp stuff for it. So yeah, I want to try some of that.
I would definitely check. Marstar.
Marstar?
I would bet you money that Marstar has them.
Cool.
Because they have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you can get 5-round N block clips.
Yes, you can, or you can just make them. I've made them in the past.
Pin in it.
Yeah, you just crank them down a bit. I
Nice.
sold a Canuck shotgun, so I got one of the Canuck Regulator Defenders, that one with the bird's head pistol grip and the full stock. And I got it because it was cheap and I wanted to review it, and I did that, and I sold it. As
Is
I
it
do.
everything that you'd ever dreamed?
When you compare, it's kind of like a watermark as to where we're at right now in firearms industry here in Canada, because if you rewind the clock 15 years or 20 years and you say, "Hey, do you want to buy a $200 shotgun that comes with 2 different stocks on it and interchangeable chokes?" Everyone would have jumped over that. Because
Absolutely.
shotguns just did not cost. They cost a lot more than that in the past, right? And now they don't. Now, if you want a 14-inch barreled shotgun with chokes and a couple of stock options and that kind of thing, You can get one for $200. It's
That's right.
it's a really, and it will work. It's
Yeah.
not
Is
it's not
that are those Turkish
Yes.
manufacturing?
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
seen so much Turkish stuff out lately. We had a guy, Andrew D,
Hmm.
comes out to our CQB matches and our plinking matches, and he brings out this. He always brings out. I don't know. He always picks up these Turkish shotguns because they're cheap,
Hmm.
and he wanted a Beretta, but Beretta is money.
Hmm.
So he bought one of those Turkish Beretta knockoffs. I can't remember what the model is on it.
Oh yeah, that one that looks like the M4, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. Like it doesn't. He's going to have to change springs to get it to work with light ammunition. Like his low recoil 2 3/4 slugs just doesn't cycle it
Mm.
properly. But everything else cycles it, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's a nice little shotgun for the price. I think it was like 400, $500 somewhere in there. Like dirt cheap.
650, 600,
What?
somewhere around there. Yeah, but still fantastic. Like when you consider that the real deal is a lot more than that. Trevor was
Yeah.
saying you really like that shotgun too.
Yeah, he was out playing with it, and I checked it out. And, it needs a little smoothing, but for what it is, hell, it's awesome. I mean, it does the
Mhm.
5 rounds in the air trick, same as the Benelli, and it's pretty awesome.
Yep. Yeah, lots of good stuff out these days. And then I've been cranking out a bunch of reviews. So I got a review on the Aimpoint Pro, which is like a Aimpoint Red Dot. They're one of their more inexpensive ones, which in the grand scheme of things is not an inexpensive red dot, but it's inexpensive for Aimpoint. I did the Vortex Spark AR versus Spark 1. I did the ISSC SPA, which is like a straight pull toggle link 22. And there are not a lot of reviews on that thing out there. Not a lot at all.
There was one of those at the Maple Seed in Drumheller. It was interesting.
Yeah, they're a really interesting toggle bolt design. They're very fast to actuate, and there are no full reviews online for this thing. So I think I've got like the most comprehensive review right now online, which is easy to say because there aren't any comprehensive reviews.
The only comprehensive, your only source for information, the hunting gear guy.
Yeah. I mean that's actually what I like to do, not because I like the views or I like being the only one out there, but I like that in the past there was nothing. There was no information. Now there's information. So if someone buys one of these things, they can Google it and they can find a little bit of information about it and maybe learn something that they didn't know about their rifle and learn a bit about it.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's see, what else have I been doing? I put out a video on making your own Appleseed or Mapleseed slings, so how to crank out some of these. And I've been cranking these things out as well. I'm up to, like, I've got about 40 or 50 done of them.
Wow.
This, like, not for me. This is gonna be like loaners for a cross country kind of thing. So
Yeah.
they're really cool. There were slings before, just a variety of different rifle slings for hunting and that kind of thing. But now I have a whole pile of these Mapleseed slings. And then I built a new rifle, which, I mean, you could use it for Mapleseed, I guess. But it's this little guy here. So for our listeners, I'm holding up
The one that Trevor hates on.
the one that Trevor hates. And a couple of people have told me they don't like it for a couple different reasons, but I don't care because I do. It's an 8.5-inch barrel AR-15, mostly in white. So the reason why I went with white, the upper and lower and grip were already white from when I had this AR, and I painted it, I think, 8 years ago or something like that. So those parts were already white, and I was like, I may as well just make the rest of it match. So I painted the stock and the fore end and whatnot. The barrels were at SFRC. I think I paid like $125 after discount for the barrel, and that was free, and that I already had. So really, like, this was taking a rifle that wasn't doing anything, and I'm making a shorty rifle for nothing. This is just a standard like mil-spec carbine stock on the back. This is a Michalik brake I had hanging around. This fore end is just one of the cheap AliExpress ones that I chopped. So you could probably tell, right? Because it's like there's still some half loops over here, and that front little Picatinny a little bit is just like not looking quite right.
Looks like you took a chop saw to it.
And that's what I did. Yeah, I sanded it afterwards. Get those edges down so it's not going to cut anyone. But I also did the gas block because you can kind of see it from the front there, and I wanted it to kind of show off and look a little bit different. So I don't know if paint will stick on a gas block or a muzzle brake when they get hot, but I will find out. Think it'll burn off? Think it'll get like
depends on the paint. What paint did you use? You rattle can it, or did you use
rattle can?
like an enamel?
No,
yeah,
rattle
probably.
can. Rattle can. Yeah, yeah. I wanted
I think
this
it probably
to
will.
reflect how chintzy the build was. But
It's really chintzy considering there's no cocking handle on it.
yeah, I need one of those. I got a buddy of mine has one for me, and I just got to go over to his place and grab one. But it's got a bolt in there.
So-
It's got a BCG.
So chintzy, you got to get a screwdriver into the bolt to cock it.
Well, you just got to do that once.
That's true.
Just show up to the match with it cocked, with the bolt back, and then you're good to go. It's very you gotta like shave down the weight on this thing. The other like the weight on this thing's fantastic. It's so compact and pointable. I have a hand stop coming for it that's it's gonna fit on the bottom here. Part of my thought around where I was gonna cut this fore end was I wanted it as short as possible. Like I could have went fore end all the way to the end or further and blown up my handguard like I've seen done before. But I wanted to go as short as possible to kind of exaggerate the smallness of this thing because I think with a nice short handguard it just looks like it's super tiny. And it is.
It's a cool handgun.
Yeah, you could shoot this as a handgun. Like when they had the RIA handguns, I'm like, man, you couldn't actually shoot one of these things as a handgun. Totally could. Totally could. I can hold it up there,
can, but why
no
would
problem.
you?
Yeah, I don't know. If
I
you're in
never
the US,
understood that.
I'm gonna post some pictures of this on Reddit on some American subreddits and trigger some people because they'll be like, "Where's your tax stamp?" Like, I don't need a tax stamp. I'm into Canada. How much can your bank
Well, I
hold?
can't hunt with it.
5 or 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's your suppressor?
Yeah, can't have one of those either.
Nope.
No freedom. But I really like how it feels. I really like how like compact and with a red dot on there. It's gonna be so much fun at the range. This is gonna be
Yeah,
a ton of fun to just like blast with. I might, depending on whether it runs or not, because these pistol length gas systems can be a little bit cantankerous. If it runs, I may try shooting it at a 3-gun match, as long as it's not like long range. If it's 100 meters in, yeah, this guy.
Yeah, well, we've had guys come out to matches and shoot 500 yards with 10-inch barrels and actually do quite well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not optimum, but you can do it. So, I mean, out to at least a couple hundred yards, you're just shooting IPSC targets.
Oh, I would do 200 or 300, but once it gets to like 4, like the velocity difference is going to be real. But I mean, I could shoot a maple seed with it. I could just take one of these slings here and hook that on the front and hook it on the back there. There we go. It's a maple seed rifle now. See? Bet you didn't know. This is a maple seed rifle.
Just need to borrow a helmet off Filthy, and away you go.
Yeah. Could you imagine like how rude that would be right right next to people shooting an 8.5-inch barreled rifle? It's gonna have flames coming out the side. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, I do like seeing those fired at night. The big fireball.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And some people say that they're loud. I find the 10 and 12-inch barrels louder than the 8s and the 7s. I think it's that, like they burn more of the powder outside of the gun. They're not at full peak pressure,
Yeah. I think it depends on the brake you have on it as well.
Yes, this would be a pretty loud break. It's yeah. But well, should be interesting. And I've got a bunch of other reviews that I got to do. ISSC, MK22, the Ruger PCC, Magnetospeed, Labradar, GSG MP40, and 22. Half of those are done. I just need to edit and post and whatnot. I've been getting about one every 2 days or so picking away at them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. A lot of 22 action, which I kind of like. Kind of like doing a lot of the 22 stuff. I mean,
It's cheap.
well, and there's a lot more that's different between them. Like I've reviewed almost all the popular bolt action hunting rifles, and the differences between them are so small. And like people complain on my videos, why are you focusing on such a small thing as the safety is loud when there's everything else? It's like because everything else is the same. They're all accurate. They're all reliable. They all do the same thing. So I need to like focus on small little things like finishes and that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to move over to 22s where it's like, oh my god, the magazine on this one like works amazingly, or the the bolt action on this one is kind of crappy or whatever, right? So a lot more
Yeah.
to talk about, a lot more interesting.
Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, big bolt action rifles are pretty mature. It's not that often that you're going to see something like just goes, "Whoa, this is amazingly different."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all the budget bolt action hunting rifles these days come with an OK trigger, so the trigger's no longer a differentiator. They come with synthetic stock. They come with a free float a stock barrel setup. They've got like a detachable mag that is probably okay. I don't know. Even that is like that used to be something that was a little bit crappier 5 or 10 years ago, but that's something that's gotten better even recently. Here, the Savage Axis magazine is no longer as terrible as it was before, and some of the other ones have improved as well. So,
No longer as terrible as it was. I like that.
well, it had like this bent plastic piece which worked, but was like real chintzy feeling, and they replaced it with this plunging plastic piece, which feels a lot better. Feels a lot better, looks a lot better, and yeah, it's like just a small thing like that makes a really big difference in the feel of the magazine. Again, now I'm talking about like magazine feel. Like who like most people they shouldn't care, right? You go hunting with that one versus another one, it doesn't make a difference. But I don't know. Got to talk about these little differences.
Yeah, and I mean, build quality is important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is unless like you're on you're on my Remington 770 review, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter, and as long as it shoots deer, it's fine. Which, I mean, if that's your goal, then yeah, any rifle really could meet that.
Yeah, the guy that came out with us hunting this year, he shot 3 deer, and he had an Axis and 30-06, $400 gun.
Yeah, does
It doesn't matter.
just fine. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Again, that's another good example. That Axis, rewind 15 years ago, and you would have been lucky to get something for $400. And I mean, like, yeah, the cost to salary ratio for guns these days is fantastic. People can actually afford to get proper guns for what they need to do, and you don't have to roll around with a milsurp hunting if you don't want to, right? You don't have to just roll around with a Sporter 303. You can get a Savage Axis or whatever, and that'll be a better hunting rifle for deer and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the time you buy a milsurp, drill and tap it for a scope, you're probably not that far off buying
Yeah,
used
yeah,
Axis, if you're off it at all.
yeah, yeah. And then how good is that scope mount and the cheek rest and all that other kind of stuff that you got to get going? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's about it for me. What about you, Dave?
I still haven't put my shadow together. I've still got your hammer that you sold me sitting on my desk because I've been busy. I've got like 4 part-time jobs and a full-time job, so I've been busy doing all that stuff pretty much, and just haven't had time to put the gun together. So it's not been working for a year. I really have to fix it and go shoot a match or something with it. So I have not been doing that. I RO'd for an ORA CQB match on the last weekend, which was awesome. We had 32 shooters out. It was a fantastic day. Everything was just fast and smooth, and we wrapped everything up in like, I don't know, 3 hours. It was ridiculously fast.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I ran a plinking day, just a casual plinking day on the Sunday, again for the Ontario Rifle Association, and had a husband and wife come out, had a bunch of guys come out with their kids, had one guy bring his whole family out, had people out training for competition, had people out just messing around with their pistols. It was an awesome day. Just seeing like the actual, the firearms community out, the families and the husbands and wives and the fathers with their kids. It was just like, it was awesome. It was a really good day. I had a great day. Love that stuff. And that was it.
Oh, that's easy.
Well, been a fairly slow time. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Upcoming
What
events?
else we got here? Yes. Upcoming events. The Drumheller and District Shooters Association is hosting
They're doing a Ladies' Day this weekend.
Yes, on August 24th. Shooting is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be giveaways and lunch provided. Cost is $50. And you can email ddsashooters@gmail.com for more details. You do not need a PAL to attend either of these events. One-on-one instruction will be provided at each event as well. And that is an absolutely beautiful range. If you happen to be in the Alberta area, southern Alberta, I guess, that is an awesome range. Great place, great people. Highly recommend it. Black badge registration time in New Brunswick. Contact ipsicnewbrunswick@gmail.com if you're interested.
And one other one. Actually, I don't even know if it's ready to announce yet. They're going to do a ladies' day at Chaz in September. That'll be fun.
Oh, nice.
So if you're in the Edmonton
Yeah,
area and you want to come on out to the to Chaz and check it out, that ladies' day. I think it's in late September. I'm going to be there. Yeah.
nice.
I haven't
Is that
decided
one
what I'm
of
doing.
the CCFR events?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. I've been following the photos from those on Facebook, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I haven't
That's
decided what I
such
want to
a
do.
such a great thing.
If I want to have a do like a maple seed thing or do like a pistol or what I'm going to do, but I'll find out.
Nice.
I'll be there anyways. I'll be the
Show up.
face. Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe I shouldn't do that job.
So we have no
we
news.
want people to come. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Do.
I'll pull up this new gun thing if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's see. This is the Maple Ridge Armory has announced that they're doing a slim billet upper receiver. It looks real fancy. I think if you're looking at this, you should also look at their V1. Is it their V1? M1. V1. Oh, they don't mention V1. There we go. Yes, it mates up with their V1 to look seamless. So if you want an upper and upper rail that look absolutely seamless and fantastic, this is your jam. This is not a cheap upper. They're going to be right around $300, but it is real nice and fancy looking.
Yeah, their stuff is so pretty. I love their equipment.
I'm
looking.
Oh, I didn't even mention that on the last show. I think I got a V1 M-Lock.
Oh yeah,
for my AR. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So
it's very
not
nice.
from Alibaba.
Not from Alibaba. No.
I'm looking at their handguards because I need one for my NEA upper, which I'm assembling. But now that I'm looking at the NEA upper and I'm looking at this, I'm thinking maybe I don't want to put my NEA upper together.
Well,
Yeah, I want to throw it in the dumpster and buy something nicer. I don't know.
I mean the I could say that the difference on the upper, what the AliExpress stuff generally has sharper edges on the slots and whatnot. So whereas the M-Lock on the Maple Ridge, they're very smooth. So if you grab onto the handguard on a lot of the AliExpress stuff, it's very sharp edged versus the smooth edge on the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, fit and finish, but hey, for $10, whatever. What's the V1 handguard worth?
200.
Yeah, versus 10. So I don't think you can complain.
No. The next one I have here is I Run Guns. They've got some. I just saw these today, actually on Discord, and they've got some custom Glock 17s. These are using Rival Arms upper slides on them, and they're RMR, so you can put an optic on there, and they've got some real spacey grip designs on them. Yeah, they've got all sorts of like hex marks, and they got some like skulls and crosses and little triangles and hashes and all sorts of weird stuff. So if you want a weird looking Glock, and the slide's got some cutouts on it, so that looks kind of neat. If you want a weird looking Glock that you could put a red dot on, the thing is the price is also really low, like $4.99 US. What is that in Canadian? To USD to Canadian is $663. That's very inexpensive for a Glock 17 in Canada.
Yeah. I kind of like the way they look. It's a little different.
They are really interesting. I would say that if you're, well, what did I say? 660?
Yep.
That's I mean, the used market is so good on pistols, so you might want to look at those as well. But 660 for a new, kind of new Glock, because your CZP-10s are right around 550, and new Glocks are what 700, 800, still somewhere in
Something like
there.
that.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Or you could just wait a week until everybody who buys these ones regret it, and then sell them on the E.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. They're very personalized. The grip. I feel like you either love or hate the grip design that you choose, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's a very personal decision. You probably want to pick one that you like, and I don't think that didn't really look reversible. Was that lasered into the grip or something like that, or was it just a stick on?
I don't know. It doesn't look like a stick-on.
I know with a lot of these custom
The front's
engraved, it
bronze.
is an engraved grip on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so love it or don't buy it.
Love it or list it.
Yeah. So we still got about a half an hour here. So well, why don't we get into the rest of the stuff and then come back to the main topic closer to the top of the hour?
Sounds good. You want to drop down to listener feedback?
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Let's see here from Jay. Dear wise men and woman. Well, wise woman. I don't know about wise men, but thank you, Jay. Of Slamfire Radio. I meditated on your shotgun guidance and went for Benelli Supernova. I'm very pleased so far. I now have the opportunity to go deer hunting this fall. This deer spot was described to me as rich in natural obstacles and where visibility corridors will not exceed 50 yards. It's an old orchard. Since my gun budget this year will not allow me a rifle, I plan on using my Supernova with slugs, most likely Foster type because I have a smooth bore. I still have to test what slug produces the best accuracy, but before I put both my shoulder and wallet through that painful ordeal, I wanted to know if any of you have experience with rifled choke tubes. Do they help stabilize a slug? Would you recommend one? If not, what choke constriction would you recommend for slugs? Also, would you consider that a low recoil or target 12 gauge slugs has adequate terminal ballistics to humanely dispatch a white-tailed deer at 50 yards or less? Most of the brands that have a managed or low recoil option seem to gravitate towards 1 ounce projectiles at velocities around 1200 FPS. Thanks again for your wisdom, Jay.
Hmm.
What do you think of that one, Adriel?
I would say at 50 yards, you anything will do. Anything.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing would be to make sure that whatever you choose to actually like get to the range at that distance and put some shots on paper and see where you're hitting. I would probably use as close to a cylinder bore as I can, but those lead Foster type regular boring old slugs, you can shoot them through tighter chokes. Like I shoot mine out to a modified. I've shot slugs through a full choke on my shotgun. And if you think about it, a lot of those older shotguns, they would be fixed choke. A lot of them were full, and people would shoot slugs through them all the time. Never a Sabo or anything like that, but like a Foster type, very
Yeah.
frequently. But like if I had my choice and I was going for accuracy, I wouldn't want to overly constrict it where I didn't need to. I'd go for cylinder or IC at most, kind of a thing. I don't think I would do the rifled choke just because it doesn't matter at 50 yards. Um, and I would not choose a low recoil one just because you're gonna make one shot. You might as well make it count, and you might as well like thump that deer good.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
low
Agreed.
recoil will probably do it. Like 1200 FPS with a 1 ounce slug is going to do some damage, but
Yeah.
you might as
50 yards.
yeah, you might as well go for like just a regular velocity slug. And I would the important thing here would be to get to a range or get to somewhere where you can shoot on paper. Some ranges don't let you do shotgun on paper, so there's that to consider as well.
Usually, I find when I'm ROing for one of ours, if people bring their own target backers, fill your boots. You can't
Yes,
shoot our target backers with them.
that would be a reasonable approach to it, and some ranges would have a reasonable approach to it. Some of them would limit you to certain ranges and that kind of thing. But if you can get that shotgun with the slugs you want to hunt with, and shoot some stuff on paper at 50 yards, and see if you can keep those shots within like a 6-inch circle, good to go. I think it's important to shoot it at 50 because some shotguns they'll shoot their slugs really high at 50 yards. Or some of them might be to the left or right. Like with my mod choke in my Browning, I shoot about a foot left at 100 yards.
Oh,
Level
interesting.
level vertically, but a foot left. And if you change the choke out, changes where it hits.
Huh.
So practice on paper because especially he's going to go hunting, right? I shoot 3 guns, so I just throw more slugs. Who cares? Oh, that one went left. I guess I'll just wing a couple more at it and just pay attention where they're going. It's not a big
Yeah,
deal, but
very important to get the actual ammo and gun out at the ranges you're going to shoot in practice. I know guys who hunt, but they only shoot at 25 yards and then they'll go hunt at 100. I mean, where's your gun hitting at 100? You don't know. I mean, you think you know, but maybe.
yeah, or like shoot a milk jug at 100, and as soon as you get a hit, it's like, well, good to go.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, but like at 50 yards or less, anything will do the trick, and slugs will do it. Just make sure that you've done that practice. You may want to practice how you're going to shoot too. So if you're going to be, did he say how he's going to be shooting?
He didn't say if he's using a stand or not, or how he's going to be set up.
Orchard. I would practice how you're going. Like get a good rest and shoot so you can see what the gun's going to do. And then I would practice how you plan on shooting. So if you're going to shoot seated, I would take some shots seated and see if they'd go any different. And I would take some shots standing as well if you're going to take a standing shot.
And wear the same gear you're going to be wearing when you're hunting as well.
Yeah,
So if you're
if
wearing a
possible.
vest and a jacket, make sure you wear that when you're at the range.
Yeah, if possible. When I hunt, it's sometimes it's -20, so there's no way I could practice that. Yeah, but I think a shotgun will do fine for 50 yards. I think that's great. I think a slug will do it, and it's a good shotgun to do it with too. Benelli Supernova, nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Next feedback is from Blaze. Good evening, Slamfire crew. Long-time listener, first-time writer. Thanks for writing. I'd like to hear what your favorite lube for guns, that is. That's an awkward sentence, but okay, we'll go with that. Also very awkward. Seems like every other week there is a new one, and recommendations range from motor oil to super duper aerospace 50-cent vials of pure platypus earwax. I'm looking to get better at taking care of my guns, as most of them are lubricated by their own carbon and fouling. That actually lubricates very well. Well done. Thanks for the show. Enjoy every minute of it, Blaze. I use CLP. I use CLP on everything. I have bottles here of fancy super duper platypus earwax. I'm going to use that, by the way. Thank you, Blaze, stealing that. And I've never found that any of them lubricate my gun any better than my stupid little bottles of CLP. And years ago, from Canada Ammo, I bought about 6 of those, and I've still got 6.
Whoa!
I know,
How
right?
much do those bottles hold?
Uh, 8 fluid ounces. I've got 6 of them.
Oh, yeah.
So that was about 10 years ago. I have 6 left. Like, I have used, I think, about a quarter of one, maybe half of one of those bottles, and I use that stuff for everything. I use it for locks. I use it for hinges. I use it to lube everything that I own. Not for that though, and not a person.
Hopefully
But
not.
it does work well for everything else. And I got guys that come out to matches, and I remember that frog lube was a big thing a couple of years ago,
Oh
and guys
yeah.
baking their guns in the oven and doing all this crazy crap.
Hmm.
And then we have them come out to matches where it's like -20. They go to chamber the round. You watch the bull go, because it's all gooped up. CLP works, and it's cheap.
And it's
I
not.
love it.
It's not coconut oil or cooking oil, like some
No,
of the other ones
no,
we found to be.
no. Why not? It does stink. I mean, coconut oil is nice. Smells good when it heats up, but CLP, it's great. Cleans it up. I clean the guns with it too. Just put it on a cloth, give the gun a wipe down. It's great. Love that stuff.
Yeah.
Probably causes cancer, but oh well, whatever.
Yeah, everything does. I mean, I think that aside from the smell, they're all going to lubricate just fine. Personally, I use the synthetic motor oil for lube. I don't use it for like storing for long term or anything like that, and it works fine. And I mean, anything will work fine for a short term. Like keep in mind, we're end consumers. We're just regular civilians shooting these things. and I go to the range and I do some shooting, and I come back and I put my gun in a safe where it's not going to be humid, and it's going to be fine. And I don't, go years without cleaning it. I'll clean my guns when I think they need cleaning, and I'll re-lube them, and it doesn't really matter what kind of I'm convinced I could use any lube in my guns and it would work just fine, and there would be no appreciable difference in how they operate or how reliable they are. For my stuff that I leave a little bit longer, I go the CLP route as well. And then, I mean, you can always use like hops number 9 and that kind of thing, and then that's at least smells good. At least I think it smells good.
Oh man, they made that as a perfume.
I use it for my beard trimmer. I need to oil it, and I put a little drop of hops on there every once in a while.
Nice. This is actually one of the very few gun-related things I have ever won. I won that from Slamfire like about 1,000,000 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Slipstream giveaway?
Yep.
Yep. I used it to lubricate a door on my house, and I've never used it for anything since. So
I bet you that door hinge is probably like silent for years, right?
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. But I've never actually used it on a gun, so I don't know.
I bet it would work fine. So I mean, I guess like the long story short, for me and you, it sounds like just anything will do the trick.
Yeah, I've used motor oil before. That's Duralube. I don't even know if they sell this stuff anymore. It forms a coating on the metal, and I've got a buddy I don't use this stuff
Is
anymore.
it a grease?
It's not a grease. It's a lubricant and protectant, and it's like a it's a little bit thicker than a motor oil. Like it feels like a thick motor oil, but you put that stuff on anything and just rack the crap out of it. I've got a buddy who uses it, puts it on his guns, and he just spends hours racking them. And supposedly it forms a coating on it, and it's very smooth afterwards. You can actually feel it. How it runs really cold, I don't know, but he swears by it. I don't know.
I wonder if that's real or not. I know with molybdenum greases and that kind of thing, that comes with the moly will like get into the pores of the metal, and that will help lubricate it but you need the grease and whatnot on there as well.
Yeah.
But that stuff is gray, and you can't really tell if it's carbon fouling or not, so you usually like wipe it off. So I don't know. I use grease on the odd thing. Like if you're gonna have like an M14 or an M1 Garand, there's a couple of parts on there that grease is better than oil.
Man, your rollers.
Yes, but oil is also pretty good.
I've seen a few guys put grease on the bolt lugs on some of their bolt guns as well, and they swear by that. I don't know. I've never bothered with grease because I've seen way too many people have problems with the grease picking up the everything and then just staying in the gun or freezing or.
That's yeah. I mean, if I didn't lube or if I didn't clean my guns as often as I did, I would probably have to use less lube and grease, because right now if I take my AR to the range and I'm going to go do a match or something like that, I lube the crap out of it, and it collects dust and it collects carbon and it all cakes up in the oil, but I don't care because I get home, I clean it off and it's not a big deal. But if I was to go out to the bush and live out there as a wild man for years, I would probably use less oil on my stuff because I don't want to have to clean it that often.
Yeah, I don't lube everything a lot. My AR-15, I run it wet. Like I pretty much dip the bolt in oil, and they run great when they're wet. That gun likes being wet. My bolt guns, I just like give them a little wipe down, and that's about it. They don't need very much.
Yeah, just to
pistols, just
the rust off them.
Yeah, and pistols, I just lube, drop on the barrel, drop on the hood, and then a little bit on the rails, and it's fine.
Now, if I shoot in the winter time, like if I'm doing a November or December 3-gun match and it's cold, like minus 20 Celsius or so, I will wipe all the visible oil off. So there still will be a film on there, but very light, because any thickness there, and it'll start like slowing things down when it gets down to that minus 20 or so.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never shot a match when it's been that cold. I don't like sticking to my guns. It's
very interesting because you find out which, like, you assume, like, all the guns are supposed to be reliable, right? But then you shoot it in minus 20. Minus 20 is pretty bad. Pretty hard on guns. Pretty hard on semi-auto shotguns, especially. Semi-auto shotguns, it seems, are this close from not cycling on the best of days. And any of your pistols that aren't that are tightly clearanced, like Shadow 2s, Shadow 1s, you put too much lube on those things and they slow right down. Glocks and all that kind of stuff work just fine though, even in the cold.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sloppy 1911, and I have fired it in the cold. I haven't shot a match, but I fired a couple hundred rounds out of it one day in the cold. But you can grab the slide and like it moves.
Probably fine
And
then.
yeah, right, great, it's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, the firing pin channel on AR-15s. That will freeze up if it's full of oil, and you get some water in there. That will freeze up. I've seen that several times in really cold weather. You pull the trigger, you hear a click, they rack it, click, rack it, and they're racking out like live rounds. The hammer is striking, but it's going nowhere.
Do you lube your firing pin, your AR?
You bet I do. I lube everything, man. Because I want it, like, at the end of the day when I take it home, if it's been lubed and it's all carboned up, you just wipe it and it comes right off, right? If it's dry, then you get hard carbon that cakes on there, and it can be a little bit harder to get off in some parts.
Yeah, firing pin, I always put a little bit of light oil on. I know some guys who are very meticulous about making sure it's not lubed. They like their firing pin dry. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was cold, definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I think we've done the lube discussion to death.
Yes, henceforth to be known as the pure platypus earwax discussion. That's what I will call it from now going forward. I guess I should mention that listener feedback was brought to you by Armory DC Gunsmith, a full-service gunsmith who specializes in firearm refinishing and is a super cool dude. He offers hot bluing, parkerizing, and Cerakote finishes, as well as wood refinishing. Check out his online inventory of new and used guns, firearms accessories, optics, and more at dcgunsmith.ca. You can also follow him on Facebook at a link that I can't pronounce, but you can just Google him and you will find. Go from his website. It's French and stuff, so. If you'd like to email the show, send email to slamfire@gmail.com. Podcast app reviews. One iTunes review for Slamfire from a couple days ago from GCP002. Thank you very much. Canadian. Title, great show. Review, got my RPAL about a year ago and have since been seeking content in all things guns. Great podcast. Informative and fun. I've learned a lot about specific firearms as well as Canadian gun culture and politics. Definitely worth a listen. Gavin. Thank you, Gavin.
Cool. Yeah.
I'll take the next one.
Sure. Next one's from Canadian Limey. This is from Canada, 5 stars. Title, entertaining and informative. He must not have listened to that many then. Review. I've only been listening for the past 6 months ago. See? But I really enjoy the show and its content. From Trevor's 1 hour long What I Did in Guns, which, by the way, is one of the best parts, strangely. Adriel's reviews and comments are great as well, informative, despite laughing at his own jokes, which I will do and continue to do.
How does he know they're funny if he doesn't?
Yeah. Kelly's awesome and deserves a medal for putting up with Trevor. Love hearing about Maple Seed and her passion for the sport. There's another guy, can't remember who, McFly maybe? Anyways, despite not being an IPSC shooter or a 3-gun, it's a joy to hear about them. Keep up the great work, guys. Scott from Niagara.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thanks. Keep on going.
I'm scrolling. Scrolling. All right, there we go. Shoutouts. Any shoutouts, Adriel?
Oh, none that I can think of. Thanks, Ian, for loaning me your Ruger PCC. I'm done the review and I can mail it back to you. There's my shout out.
Or you could mail it to me. Just saying. Actually, he did
That's
say
the wrong way. I'm supposed to mail it west, I think, not east.
No, go east, young man. Go east.
If you go far enough east, it'll end up in the west.
That's true. Shout outs to Ryan and Kyle, two of my buddies who got their RPALs finally, and one of the first things they did was pick up AR-15s. So, welcome to the club. That
nice.
is excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
And shout out to I can't remember who else. So next, I was thinking somebody, but I don't remember who it was.
Cool.
Excuse me. Fail on my mic mute. Patreon supporters. New Patreon is Blaze M. Happy being a new dad.
357 too. Yeah.
357. Nice. Good caliber. Good donation. Happy being a new dad. Congratulations and thank you, Blaze. Patreon supporters, you should have received patches in the mail. If you have not received yours in a month, please send us an email. And if you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/slamfireradio.
And I've been real good with getting patches out. All under a month.
Nice.
They're not instantaneous, but they're under a month these days.
Under a month. Excellent.
That's better than I have been in the past.
Very good. How are we looking on our main topic there, Adriel?
We got about 10 minutes. We could just sign off, and then I'll put the Slamfire banner up and mute it for a bit, and then we can let these guys join in.
Sounds good.
It'll be
All
magic.
right.
It'll be pure magic for our YouTube viewers, except it will be boring and nothing will be going on, but it'll be magic.
So not magic, but okay. We'll see y'all in a few minutes. Adriel's definition of magic and my definition vastly differ.
Let's see. What if I do that and I mute? All right, and we're back live. Okay, so we've got a couple of different people on today. We've got Kyle, who will be talking about UML. We've got Peter, who will be talking about USPSA multi-gun. And then a little bit later, we're going to be joined by Everett, who's going to talk about Three Gun Nation. Oh, and I think he just joined us. So maybe right off the hop, thanks for joining us, guys. And Kyle, if you wanted to just start off, tell us a little bit about UML and what that's all about.
Okay, sure. UML, it started probably, I think it was a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Pete Rensing kicked it off. Their main premise by the shooters for the shooters. It's like every other rule set. It follows around your general same things. There's small differences, like when it comes to classifications, and then one of the big points is the stage points, how it's awarded.
Mm-hmm.
And just when they wrote the rule book, they wanted to keep it fairly open. Like if you look through the rule book, it's pretty wide open so that clubs can still have the freedom to kind of do what they do. Yeah, it's just Pete Rensing, when he started it, he saw some holes in some other stuff that he was seeing and just talking with people, and that's where UML was born. It is growing like mad fire down south, and yeah, just trying to grow it up here.
And you're running a match for UML. Is that the first regional match in Canada?
Yeah, it's the first sanctioned UML match in Canada. It's level 3, District 15, like I believe BC is District 14, Alberta is District 15, Saskatchewan, and as you go east, just goes up in numbers. And yeah, after talking with Pete, this is the first sanctioned UML match in Canada happening this weekend.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Peter, did you want to tell us about USPSA?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
my history of the USPSA goes back quite a few years, shooting in the U.S., shooting the multi-gun nationals and stuff. The reason I've sort of support the USPSA rule set is it takes so much of the responsibility and just difficulty away from the match directors and range masters, because pretty much anything that can happen is dealt with in that rule book. So the rules are all there, the decisions are all there. It's just a matter of applying it. Like Kyle mentioned, UML, the best thing about UML is the match format. The optional targets, it's awesome. But the rule set, in my mind, it's just got to mature a little bit. It's close. It's really close.
Cool. All right. And Everett, tell us maybe a little bit about the background on Three Gun Nation.
Well, Three Gun Nation's been around for well over 10 years, I believe now.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I've been involved with Three Gun Nation for the last 4 years. I actually started my competitiveness in the sports in Three Gun Nation down south, and right away I fell in love with the rule set versus USPSA, just for the openness, for target trees, and the simplistics of the rule set.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that,
Yeah, I mean, like Three Gun Nation, like really was really popular, right? When you think about the popularity of Three Gun and really what got some early traction, Three Gun Nation was really popular. They had like televised events that looked really cool.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think
I'd never heard about Three Gun until I saw the Three Gun Nation events. I'm like, what is this magic thing?
Yeah, I mean it was fantastic for the promotion of the sport early on, and I think there's a couple of Three Gun Nation affiliated clubs in Canada, correct?
yes. In southern Alberta, we have Lethbridge, BTSA, Medicine Hat. I believe there is a club out on Victoria Island as well.
Campbell River.
Campbell River.
Yeah.
And then I believe a year or two ago, I caught wind of a couple clubs out east in Ontario as well. But
interesting. Yeah. I mean, so like we kind of have these. I mean, really, we have a lot of outlaw matches in Three Gun across Canada, And then we also have
Absolutely.
these three standard rule sets that are out there that are like more or less everyone's following the same rule set. I think one of the things that that's kind of holding Canada back from like adopting a single rule set across the board is like there's a couple of little things that are different in how you adopt the rule set. Like one example, do you guys allow LAR mags in rifles at your matches?
Yes, we do.
I think pretty much everyone does, right? What
Yeah.
about Beowulf mags? Or
Absolutely.
Kyle
Yeah,
says yes.
absolutely.
Everett?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bottom line, you legal, you run it.
So those are like now I've heard of some clubs that don't allow those, but that's one interesting thing. What do you guys think? Like the overall idea of it is, I think is valid. If it's legal, run it. What if you can't get them though? Because like one of the things that some people have said is that Beowulf mags are hard to get, or those SOCOM mags are now. Are they all sold out with Wolverine? I know they got a whole pile of them in.
I'm
But
not sure.
one of the arguments that has been made is that it's hard to find these things, and you can only really find LAR mags legally, so it may be a barrier to new shooters. What do you guys think about that?
Uh, well, I mean, like Aztec Armory imports them all the time. Like you're not going to get them tomorrow. You might have to wait a couple months. But I mean, Aztec Armory imports them all the time. They end up being double pinned. So, but yeah, they import that. That's my last batch I got through Aztec, and yeah, it takes a couple months, but come in.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Wolverine still has the 458 SOCOMs in stock.
Okay, yeah.
It's one of the things. I mean, design your stages such that there's no clear advantage for any particular magazine to get rid of the equipment race.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing to think about is how to design those stages, because we shouldn't have these big hoser spots where you can sit at one spot and lay out like 20 rounds. I think that's where we hurt the beginner competitor who might be coming to the stage with LAR mags and not Beowulfs or SOCOM or 458 or whatever, right?
Well,
The same is true.
Go ahead, Peter.
The same is true with shotgun tubes. Build the stages so there's movement. Build the stages so there's opportunity for reload, and most of your problem goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and hopefully something that that doesn't make it so that the guys in open can blow everyone out with their pump action shotgun mags on their Typhoons or their Durias, right?
Yeah,
I'll be honest,
if you want to deal with the open guys, just start mixing birdshot and slugs. They love it.
Get those candy cane loads. We've been playing with those that kind of target array at Chaz recently, and it's been really interesting. I got a question for you guys: a slug on a steel birdshot target, should it be a penalty, or should it be a stage DQ, or should it be a match DQ? Not everyone.
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go for. It should be a match DQ because you've got a serious safety issue. Probably that little birdshot target's going to go flying down the range, but that's probably. We're shooting stuff at close distances based on the fact that you know what's going to happen. That's what the whole thing.
Now, do you guys mix slug and paper and steel targets for slug and shot on the same stage? Because I was at a three-gun match, and a ton of people got disqualified from the match, an IPSC 3-gun, years ago, because they mixed the targets. You actually had to, it was weird. Like the same stage, you were mixing targets. Some were slug, some were shot, and you were supposed to load your shotgun to match the stage. But it was bad stage design. Like the match director got disqualified. Yeah, exactly. I thought he was being a smartass, but 4 guys got DQ'd on that match, including the match director, which was hilarious. But one of my buddies who was shooting his IPSC qualifier got disqualified as well.
No, I'm all for.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I'm all for the DQ for like there is a UML rule. Like if you shoot a steel with a slug in less than 45 yards, they actually rule it a 30-second penalty. But if they were wanting to make it a stage or match DQ, I'd be all for it because I'd just treat that the same as a rifle round. Like that's Peter's right. Like that did, you know, you gotta draw the line somewhere in that 45-yard mark. I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm. So you said that UML is a 30-second penalty, but that's you would rather it just be a stage DQ.
Yeah, well, that's under the expedition because they have a couple different sets for penalties. They have the expedition and then the traditional. So under the expedition, yeah, it's a 30-second penalty if you hit with a slug under 45 yards. A rifle round under 45 yards on steel is a match DQ. You're done.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
What's different between a rifle round under 45 or a slug round under 45?
Velocity. Like they're saying basically anything over 1,600 feet per second is a match DQ. Anything less than that, like your typical slugs guys are shooting in competition or running between 12 to that right on that 1,600 feet per second mark. So I mean, like from what I've been seeing, like your biggest damage on steel is velocity.
I don't even really notice any difference on damage on that. Like for a steel knockdown plate, I don't really notice any damage. Like probably if you shot them a whole pile of times, you would start noticing some accumulated damage on them. But like I think one of the reasons why I'm not like, if we design stages that have slug and birdshot targets interspersed and candy caned, you're gonna expect that some people are gonna hit those plates with some slugs, right? It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, make sure your transition targets are a little further away and make sure they're safe if someone does accidentally send off a slug.
Yes. Yeah. Safe distances, not having anything in the way that's going to get destroyed if a slug hits it.
And I'll be honest, like I'll design a stage and I'll try and put it so that like a slug is at the start of a stage or at the end, so it makes sense that it's at the start or the end of the stage.
Yeah, most people do that.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean that is one of the ways you DQ a bunch of people is by having, you know, it's called a candy cane load, where you've got like birdshot and slug, or sometimes with buckshot mixed in and that kind of thing. Do you guys use buckshot in your? Sorry, actually, Everett, we didn't hear from you. What do you think about the slugs on steel?
Slugs on steel, we typically have a minimum range for those type of targets, and they're identified slug only. Paper targets are full game with slugs for us. So intermingling slugs and steel knockdowns, yeah, you do run a risk if somebody's really pushing the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if they hit that knockdown steel with the wrong ammunition, I'm sorry, you're going home. That's a safety infraction for us. It's everybody's got to go home safe at the end of the day. And the last match I saw, somebody had a piece of slug get stuck in their arm down south from a slug from 7 yards away. So at the end of the day, it's all about having a safe match and getting everybody home safely afterwards.
Yeah. We're probably going to won't be another chance to address this, but one of the things I've been pushing Pete with the UML stuff is to allow slugs on paper.
Because you have to have it written in their stage brief. It's just not an open option.
I'm looking for it as an open option because everything else is optional. It's just the final little tidbit. I think it would be awesome.
Slugs are fun. I like shooting slugs.
Yeah, slugs on paper are fun too. It's a pain in the butt to patch because you need like some nice wide tape to to use.
Yeah.
But it's satisfying. And you know you hit it because there's a big shining hole in the middle.
Or sometimes two holes with the wad.
Oh yeah, sometimes two holes. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, while we're talking about safety, what about reholstering? Can you reholster a pistol in your rule sets, either cold or hot? Pete,
Who wants to go first?
Peter, do you want to start first?
Sure, somebody's got to be the bad guy. So think of it this way. When the RO tells you to make ready, have you ever heard him say, hurry up and holster that loaded handgun faster? No. It's just an accident waiting to happen. Somebody's going to lose a kneecap or a toe or blow a hole in their leg. I mean, I understand why it's there, just not in favor.
All right. Kyle?
Yeah, I gotta say I'm mixed on it. Like the UML rule set doesn't require, but it does allow hot reholstering of a safe. So your safety has to be on or decocked or whatever. But yeah, I gotta say I am mixed on it. I've had to, I've hot reholstered on the clock, and I mean I felt uneasy about it, and yeah, I'm kind of mixed on it.
And just for our listeners, the difference between hot reholstering and cold reholstering, what's the difference there?
Hot reholstering, you have a round in the chamber. Cold reholstering, you have empty chamber.
Perfect. And then Everett, what's...
I mean, as an RO,
yeah.
as an RO, I've had guys have ADs in a regular handgun match just holstering their handgun. Never mind trying to do it on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Everett, what about your thoughts?
We do allow it with the rule set, but we do push that it either be cold, or if you're not comfortable at all doing or haven't practiced it, just abandon your firearm safely in one of the dump barrels or dump buckets, or just if you're not okay with it and you haven't trained that way or practiced that way, we don't recommend it. And many of the shooters don't use that option, but there is a few that tend to use it because they have had a shotgun or a rifle go down, and instead of taking penalties, they redraw, reload, and finish the stage without penalties. So
yeah, I mean, I don't really like the safety implications of hot reholstering because of what you guys are talking about on the clock, jamming a live gun in your holster. There's definitely some risks around that, especially, it's a lot of mental load for a lot of people doing it. Cold reholster, maybe, but like that, then you have to check it at the end, make sure it's clear at the end as well. And there's always the potential for someone to mentally make that mistake. I guess a little bit less though, right? Because you have that clear rule in place. But always having that dump station there as well also makes it fairly easy. Just leave your pistol at the thing and don't worry about it.
And going back to what Everett said, I've got nothing against somebody going to retrieve an abandoned firearm.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the other middle of the road option. So, if you're right down, go back and get your handgun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, does retrieving a previously grounded firearm, is that a DQ or is that a penalty in your guys' rule sets? Kyle, did you want to start us off with this one?
Sure, and actually, to be honest, I don't actually have the answer for that because I was actually looking this up the other day. I was in a conversation, and that is one thing where, like, I'll go with Peter, where the rule set's got to grow a little bit because they don't actually address that particular situation in the UML rule set. They identify what an abandoned pistol is, and they basically call abandoned as grounded, and all they say is move away or fire a shot. It's not like some of these other organizations where if you move a meter away or you fire a shot from your next platform, then so I think it's basically written in there that no, once you've abandoned it, you can't go back and pick it up, but it doesn't state what the penalty is.
All right. Everett, do you know what the Three Gun Nation rule is on this?
Yeah, so if you abandon your firearm and move to the next and to pick up your next firearm, before you fire your first shot, you may go back to retrieve that firearm and engage those targets again. But if you fired a shot and then went back to retrieve that previous firearm, pretty sure it's a hefty procedural. I'm just looking up the rule right now.
Yeah. And then Peter, on USPSA, is there like a 3 feet rule or something like that for using a grounded firearm?
One of those things I'm not going to answer because I don't know for certain. I'd have to read the rule book.
Mm. I know that there was some chatter on the Three Gun Facebook memes Facebook group here recently about someone had put their rifle down on the ground, drew their pistol, engaged all their pistol targets, cold reholstered their pistol, and then picked their rifle up and then kept going. So it was an advantage to leave the rifle, and it wasn't considered discarded or finished because they were still close to it. So I know that there's something interesting around that rule set there.
And I actually recall something on that Adriel from USPSA Nationals that because there were guys who were doing that, figuring that out, that they could put their rifle down, engage with their pistol, reholster, and then grab the rifle. But if they moved that, I'm pretty sure someone actually got DQ'd because they moved further than that meter away from their gun that they put on the ground.
Yeah, that's the instance I'm thinking about here. It's kind of interesting. I think that the simplest solution here is allow use of a regrounded firearm. Just throw a procedural or a penalty on it if you want to. Even should there be a penalty for it? Maybe. I don't know.
You have a time penalty though, going back.
I think there should be a penalty because you're not allowed to retrieve it. So I think, if you're going to grab it, then like a 30-second penalty for grabbing an abandoned firearm, or just throwing that out there. Like, I think there should be a penalty for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we use a 5 or a 10-second penalty at Chaz, which is punitive enough that to stop people from being at the end of the stage to be like, oh, I forgot this one target over there, I'm going to run back and do it. They're going to be like, nope, 10 seconds too long, I'm just going to leave it. So I like that trade-off there. I like the flexibility of, sometimes people get to the end and they forget an entire firearm. Being able to, or entire array, and being able to go back for it is kind of nice. Yeah. Now, in terms of safety, what do you guys do with chamber flags, uncasing rifles and shotguns in the parking lot, or only at safe tables, and cart usage? What are some of the norms around that?
Well, I can say up here, we let people unbag right at their vehicles. They can throw it in their baby cart or their wagon, whatever. If it's a wagon, like I've seen it where guys will put it buttstock down and their muzzle's pointing up, and it's like everybody will look at it and be like, no, get that down. Guys, just all I ask guys, just watch your muzzle even in the parking lot. Just don't flag anyone in the parking lot, and I have no issues with guys unbagging at their vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And then do you mandate chamber flags if they're in a cart?
No, not as of no. It's either bolt lock back or chamber flag.
All right, yeah, that's interesting. And then what do you do with handguns, pistols?
It stays in the holster until you're on the line ready to load or you're safe in area.
All right. Can you take your belt off with your pistol in it and throw it in your baby stroller or bag or whatever?
Absolutely, I do it all the time. I got one of those G-code just drop hangers, and I unclip it. My pistol never leaves my holster. I'm done this course of fire. I unclip it. It stays in the holster, goes into my bag, and then I'm not carrying all that weight around all day.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. Like for IPSC, I don't care. I'll just wear my pistol and my magazines all day. But for 3-gun, like my belt fully loaded is 15 pounds. So,
oh my god!
I think of like all the mags, shot shells, handgun, like all that stuff off there. Shadow 2, 3 pounds, just like hanging off your side. It's nice to pull that off and put it to the side somewhere, so that you can patch and be the good patcher of the day, right?
I need a hip report.
Exactly. Everett, what's the norm for your matches?
Medicine Hat, we allow everybody to unbag at their vehicles, put them in their carts or strollers. We have an absolute muzzle down because we do have neighbors and a drag strip right behind us, so we don't want anybody seeing something or thinking a muzzle's pointed unsafely at anywhere. Chamber flags are an absolute must for all long guns. It's just a safety. So the RO looks back, takes a sweep of everybody's firearms, everything's still safe. Nobody's messing around with firearms. If you got to go to John or on low, we prefer your pistols on the safe table,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot.
Peter, what about your matches that you run?
Well, matches I've run and also matches I participate in. Chamber flags is simply wrong. Everyone knows the condition of the firearm. It's just so, in my mind, mandatory. You got to have them. And then as far as handguns, like Kyle says, in the holster is just kind of like a bag, either holstered or bagged.
Mm-hmm. And then, do you allow uncasing at the vehicle or take it to a safe table and uncase there?
We've got the matches we've run here. We had uncasing areas set up. If you allow uncasing in the vehicle, just wander around a big match in the parking lot and see how many muzzles you stare down. It's an uncomfortable feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys have a lot of room there, and I think with unlimited room, unbagging guns at safe tables is definitely the way to go. It's easier to do. It's safer. I think it's a challenge on some of the smaller ranges because they don't have the space to have a table at a lot of the bays. And that's why I think that you end up with a lot of these matches where people uncase in the parking lot and then run either muzzle up or muzzle down in between.
Well, the smaller matches, you tend to believe you know most people there. The larger matches, you get that unknown factor. You've got no clue who's doing what in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I can see where Peter's coming from too, because you see it all the time. Like I know, like when I handle the gun, like, I know where that muzzle's pointed, but you look and it's almost robotic. But you watch some people out there, and it's so lackadaisical. Like, yeah, you didn't muzzle a person, but holy cow! Like, okay, you watch them, and it's okay. Yeah, you didn't muzzle them by 2 feet, and you not that robotic or deliberate about it. Just too easy. You watch some people and it's just expecting something to happen.
One of the most interesting things I've ever participated in was a 2-day night match.
Mm-hmm.
You've got no clue how many guns are pointed at you at any given time. All you can hear is actions closing, and it's just frightening.
Yeah,
That'd be a little spooky. I hate that noise, that chunk. Oh,
behind the line. Yeah,
yeah.
It's worrying. All right, well, I think we've done the safety thing pretty well here. What about penalties and points and that kind of thing during stages? Because one of the things that I know that's different between the rule sets is the amount of time that we use for penalizing misses and FTs and that kind of thing. Some of them opt for a little bit of a faster style of match. Some of them go for a little bit of a slower, more accurate style of match. I mean, when I first started doing 3-gun at Chaz and just shooting the matches, we had 20-second FTE, and that included aerial clays. So if that clay gets flipped up in the air and you got to jam on your shotgun, there goes 20 seconds, for example, on the clock. Which I mean we've changed it since then. But what's your guys' thoughts on penalty times and what's the right balance there?
Adriel, I got to run away.
Okay.
But I'll give you my parting comment. Shoot fast, don't miss.
All right. Thanks, Peter.
Catch you guys later.
See you, Peter.
See you, Peter.
Yeah, so because I mean, one of the things, do you guys do enhanced penalties for spinners and long range steel and that kind of thing?
Yep.
And I assume that are you guys mostly running time plus points and then points on the stage?
UML is, yeah. It's you got your total, your time plus, and then points awarded to the stage. Yeah.
Cool. So, what's your time penalty, for example, for like a long range steal? For failing to engage a long range steal, is it like 10 seconds, 15, 20, 30?
Okay. Well, under the expedition rules, so that's the low penalty. So that's for your more faster matches.
Yep.
And Miss on steal 45 to 100 yards is a 9-second penalty. Over 100 yards under 300 is a 20-second penalty.
Ooh.
And then anything over 300 yards is a 30-second penalty. And that's on the low scoring side. And if you go to the traditional, less than 100 is 15, 100 to 300 is 20. And then, well, yeah, just looking at it here, they're pretty close. Like, you know, over beyond 300 is still 30-second. So your misses on steal are pretty much the same between those two scoring styles.
Yeah, those are some stiff penalties on the upper
No
end.
myths.
Yeah, what about in Three Gun Nation, Everett?
From 1 to 40 yards, we do 2.5 seconds. From 40 to 99, it's 7.5. And anything 100 yards plus, it's 10 seconds. So
Okay, a little bit shorter penalties, so that would likely make
Yeah.
for a faster stage, but not one where people are necessarily pushing for that max accuracy, right?
yeah,
What about an aerial clay miss?
I believe that's 10 seconds.
For an aerial clay? It should be shorter.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Three Gun Nation is like at least it used to
I
be
think-
like 2.5 or 5 or something like that.
I believe it's 5. Dave likes to do a lot of aerial clays and change it up, but
Kyle, do you
he's
know
a
what it,
shotgunner.
do you know what it is in UML, Kyle?
Yeah, so in the low scoring, it's a 4-second, and that's static or reactive, doesn't matter. If you miss a clay, it's that 4 seconds. And then in the traditional, so your longer courses, it's a 10-second.
Woo. Yeah, don't want to miss that guy. Holy. I mean, the interesting the thing that does, having those long penalties on something like clays, is that you really have to think about whether that gun's loaded or not before you hit whatever's going to flip it up into the air, right? I mean,
Oh, for sure. And
sorry, go ahead.
one thing I would say is, like, when you look at the expedition multi-gun and traditional scoring, you got to look at the style of your stages. Like, the reason for the two separate ones is, so if you got shorter courses where, you know, you got average of 30 to 60-second times,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, I'll use the low scoring. But if you have longer times, that's why they put the stiffer penalties, because otherwise you get the longer courses of fire. You end up guys just running past targets because, well, it's not worth even trying for that target because the penalty versus engaging it just isn't there.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Interesting.
I've seen some courses of fire where it was advantageous to not play and to just keep moving through. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm trying to think of any other differences between the rule sets. Which ones are the most popular right now? Which ones do you guys see the most often in terms of matches and clubs? UML's new.
I find
Yeah.
see it. UML is new. Up here, you see guys using Three Gun Nation style scoring. I believe, Chaz, you guys modeled your rules off of Three Gun Nation.
Yeah, they're older.
And you see,
rule
I
set.
think there's a healthy mix, especially the major matches. You'll see either USPSA or Three Gun Nation rule sets. I mean, I think for the most part, when it comes down to it, like, most of the penalties are pretty much in line with each other. Just subtle differences between them, like what you were starting to talk about with stage points. And now I think that's a big one for as far as what sets UML aside from like Three Gun Nation or USPSA, is just how the stage points are awarded. Otherwise, you look at them and they're pretty much in line.
How are the stage points awarded in UML? That's different.
So I'll just use USPSA for example. You got, if you win that stage, you're 100%. 100% equals 100 points. So it doesn't matter how long you shot that stage. If you won that stage, you get 100 points. So it could be a 10-second stage, it could be a 100-second stage.
Yep.
And everyone's a percentage of that. So UML, if you got 100% and you shot that stage in 10 seconds, there's only 10 points available on that stage.
I saw that option in practice score. You set the points per stage based on the fastest time for the stage, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it just balances out, makes for a tighter race, and really balances it out. So Like, prime example is that 10-second stage where your 100% is 10 seconds. If you shot it in 15 seconds, now you're at 50%, 50 points. Whereas if you were in the UML style of points, instead of being down 50 points, you're down 5 points. So like I said, it really tightens up the race and really makes it a real battle.
And makes the longer stages worth more than the short stages.
Absolutely, because like 100%, 100 points, your short, fast stage is your most valuable stage. Like, you got to crush that stage, otherwise you could knock yourself out by being 5 seconds out on a quick 10, 20-second stage. You could knock yourself out of the running just on that one stage.
Yeah. And Dave, you might not be familiar with this, and probably a lot of listeners aren't either, but the old school way of doing three-gun scoring was just on time plus penalties, right? So you shot it in 20 seconds, you missed a couple over here, so it's 25 seconds, right? Bob's your uncle, you're done. The way to do it with points, you're able to not blow out if you have like one bad stage. So you award a certain amount of points per stage, and that's the maximum you can get. And if you have one stage that's horrible, well, you just lose the amount of. You might zero that stage. You might get 0 points for that stage, right? So the advantage is that you're not out of the game just by having one bad stage. You're still in the game. You still may place somewhere, whereas just time plus penalties is a little harder to get that to happen.
Okay, so that's cool. So if you have a gun go down during a stage, you're not hosed for the whole day.
You're hosed,
Not
but
if
you're
you've
not
been
as
crushing it,
badly
no.
hosed. Yeah.
Not as hosed. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Stevens at this would have been a couple of years ago. I think last year maybe. I saw him. I was shooting with him, and he stage DQ'd. So he zeroed one stage, but he did it. The rest of his match was so good, and he was really swinging for the fences that he actually, I think he won limited that year. I seem to remember him placing very well, even though he zeroed a stage, just because he really swung for the fences on the rest of them. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, Everett, do you know how they do points for stages in Three Gun Nation? Is it just based off 100 points per stage kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's pretty much like USPSA, or so many points per stage, and your time, fastest time will get 100 points, and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
We tend not to use that in Medicine Hat. We do have the option. We might start using that for point series next year, but right now, you're doing time plus points with the available options for using your firearms. You can stay, because if we want to see people stay consistent more through a match than, I bombed this stage, and now I can. It's not going to affect you as much throughout the stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where points, you can hose the rest of the match, come out on top, but yeah.
So you guys are running total time right now?
Yes.
I mean, one of the interesting things, actually, I ran our last match, and I checked it for points, total time, and then points based on how you were mentioning it, Kyle. You were doing it for UML because that's the way we wanted to do it. So I checked all three. The results did not really change a whole heck of a lot. But one of the reasons why we want to do points per stage, and we want the points to be representative of how long you spent on the stage, is at Chaz we got this big shotgun area. We can use it, and we will use it every single time, but it's shotgun only, and the stages are generally short, right? But what we don't want to have happen is just the best shotgun shooters always having this huge advantage, right? So we set our points based on the time on those stages, so that it's otherwise, if those were each worth 100 points, it would maybe make a big difference. Maybe.
Oh, it would. Absolutely. Your top guys would just run away on it.
Yeah, and it makes that shotgun, it would make it too important. And I think that we like having those shotgun-only stages because we have the space for it, but not if they would be that important to the match.
Well, yeah, and that basically, your match comes down to that one stage. That's where I like where every stage is balanced, so that it's not like you're not winning or losing the match on one stage. You're winning it on your consistency through your whole match.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that, yeah, I mean, doing the point scoring helps with that, and it helps keep a tight race as well, and makes it so that you don't just have one person run away with it, or have, you know, someone who's a knocking it out of the park lose because they had one stage where, you know, everything went to hell. Cool.
Which will happen.
Which will happen. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about in terms of the rule sets? I've been kind of driving the boat here, but is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
There was one I was kind of wanting to touch on, the classifications.
Oh yeah.
I know like Three Gun Nation has classifications like your pro, semi-pro, and so does UML. I'm pretty sure USPSA does. I'm not familiar with them though.
They have in
But,
pistol. They have like your C, B, A, Master, Grandmaster. Yeah.
Yeah. I for some reason I thought they had it in their multi-gun, but yeah, I'm not up and up on that. But I think like between Three Gun Nation and UML, there's a major difference on how your actual shooter classification is awarded.
So how are they done in UML?
UML, it's basically it's based on your real world performance. So it's it's still a percentage. So you're still ranked on percentage, like 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 90 to 100 as far as your pro, semi-pro, expert, sharpshooter, marksman, and then rookie go. Like anything under 50% is considered rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just goes by 10 percentile marks after that. And then it's based on your actual match performance. So there's no classification stages or anything like that. It's just they have it split to level 1, 2, 3, and 4 level matches. And so depending on the level, you get classifications. So level 1, you need 4 matches to have 4 level 1 matches to get a classification. And you take your average of those first 4 matches and you get your classification. Level 2, you need 3 matches. Level 3, you need 2 matches. And then level 4, one level 4 match and you have your classification. So you could be a pro at your level 1, but then you go to a level 4, like say Safariland or Surefire, one of those big matches down in the U.S. And I mean, like, let's just say like most of us up here, we're not going to be shooting a pro level down there, but our level 1 matches up here, pretty sure everybody on this podcast is probably going to be at that semi-pro to pro level for our local, just our small local matches. And so you could be a higher level at a lower one. And then, like, I'll be honest, like, I'm a sharpshooter at a level 4. I went and shot Safariland, missed out on my expert ranking by 2%. And so I'm a sharpshooter in UML for level 4, and that funnels all the way down. So now, because I had attained that in my level 4, everything else, because that's my highest and really my only classification, it funnels down. Now, if we start shooting level 1 matches, I get pro. I'll be a pro at level 1. It doesn't funnel up; it just funnels down. But it's always based on your real-world performance in a match.
Oh, I like that because, like, one of the things in IPSC is that they've got these classifier stages. If you get really, really, really good at that stage and you knock it out of the park when you shoot it, you can be classed very high. You could get like Master, Grandmaster, but maybe can't actually lay that down consistently, right? Whereas that real world, like what you're saying is, it would be very hard to sandbag with what you're talking about. You go to a big match, a big major match, and you do this level. That's your level. You can't go to your locals and do a bunch of level 1s and now be considered better than that because you shot the big match and you were measured at this level, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like prime example. So like at this weekend at our UML match, and I anticipate a couple people kind of giving a side eye because I'll be shooting at that 60 to 70. I'll be shooting for that 60 to 70 percentile mark, and I expect a little side eye. Like, shouldn't you be at least an 80 or higher? But no, I actually have that classification, and it just funneled down.
Yeah, well, it's the bigger matches in the States are more the world stage, whereas our local Alberta ones were probably good for Canada. But for Canada.
Well, that's about it.
Canada famous.
Yeah, Canada famous. Good Canada, pro Canada, but not pro US or North America or world, right?
Yeah.
How are the classifications done for Three Gun Nation?
For Three Gun Nation, it's based on shooting classifiers. So, example like IPSC, where you have your stage, you shoot as close as a pro would. They have a standard time. Closest to that, you're ranked, and after they take your 4 best stages and give your ranking, but you can always improve. It does leave a lot to be desired because, like you said, you can practice those stages repetitively, hit those stages out of the park, but when you get to a match, you're the bottom 10% and you don't perform.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the way the classification is for UML. It is real world progress. You have to perform on the spot, just not something that you practice 50 times by yourself on the range and then go to the match and bang it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, fantastic. Guys, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this talk was that we got a really good lay of the land for all of these 3 rule sets. I think that in Canada here, if we're going to pick what's the most popular rule set, Outlaw 3-gun would be the most popular, which is not a real rule set in Canada. And I think that it would be to our advantage if more of the Outlaw matches went to a recognized rule set, because one, it makes it easier for shooters to move between clubs and shoot other clubs' matches. It makes it more competitive. It makes it also probably ups the safety and ups the professionalism of the sport as well when we start moving to these more standardized rule sets. So hopefully we've got some listeners who are thinking about doing their 3-gun, or maybe they're on the board at their 3-gun group, and they can look to adopting one of the 3-gun rule sets that we've talked about today. So thanks again for coming on and laying down the knowledge bombs, because I learned a whole bunch about these different rule sets today. Thanks, guys.
Very cool, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, it was great to be on.
problem.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And where can
Thank
people
you for
find
having
your matches? Where can people get to your matches, find them, register for them?
So a lot of our stuff is either on Facebook, Wapiti 3-gun, or we cross-advertise Wapiti 3-gun and Mighty Peace 3-gun, as well as we do post in Grand Prairie all our matches on Practice Score as well.
Awesome. Everett?
We post ours on our local club website. Our calendars. We post ours at the beginning of the year, so it's always on our local website. I try to get all the matches out on Facebook and push them out to all the clubs, all the club Facebook pages. Practice Score, they're always lined up with the same time in January, so they're all there.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure Peter's matches are on Practice Score, and he promotes his stuff as well on the Saskatoon Gun Range Facebook group, right?
Saskatoon Rifle and Revolver Club.
Yes. Yeah. I in the large part, you find out about these matches on Facebook, and then you register on Practice Score when they come around, or you might be able to find them on Practice Score, especially if you're in the Western Canada. there's a lot going on. We've got like a match per weekend through the whole summer. Yeah, and it's very easy to find a match out here.
3-gun Mecca.
3-gun.
Yeah, I find I'm like so.
Yeah, I
fortunate
think I put
to be
on
in Edmonton
30,000
here.
kilometers this year.
Oh boy. I mean, just being in Edmonton, I'm super fortunate because I could drive to any of your matches. I could drive to Grand Prairie to a match. I could drive to Medicine Hat to a match. It's very much Alberta centric, and even Saskatoon is only a 5-hour drive away. So it's kind of interesting that they're all kind of focused around Central Alberta here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good though. I mean, it's a really cool sport, and I'm glad you guys were on to talk about these different rule sets and let us know more about them. Thanks for coming on.
Travis.
All right, now we got to finish the show off. So
All right.
that was just a radio goodbye.
Thanks.
Yeah, but thanks for coming on, guys. This was really interesting.
Yeah, that was awesome.
No problem.
Very educational.
Yeah.
I wish we had more 3-gun stuff here. A lot of the 3-gun stuff here is there is some IPSC 3-gun, but those matches fill up in like 30 seconds after they go live and you're done. Can't get in. So.
Yeah.
Where in Ontario are you, Dave?
I'm located an hour north of the center of the universe.
Oh, okay. You heading to F6 Shotgun Nationals?
No, I don't actually have my black badge at the moment. I let it lapse, so I haven't actually shot an IPSC match, and I don't know. I went to renew it one year, and they wrote me back and said, "You haven't shot a match in 7 years." I'm like, "Oh, holy shit, it has been." I kept trying to sign up, but they were full by the time I went to sign up, so I just kind of gave up on it. So I've got to get my black badge back just so I can use my my action range at my gun club. You need your black badge to shoot on the stupid range,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so I
wow.
can't practice my CQB or anything else. So, but
Yeah.
in all honesty, I RO way more than I shoot. I shoot maybe 1 match a year or 2 matches a year. Everything else, I'm just ROing. So, I don't know. I got to shoot more. Not getting any younger.
Cool. All right. Okay, thanks for being on, guys. I got to kick you off here, and we got to finish this thing up.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
If I can eject you, I might not be able to.
Oh, they're
off.
gone.
Perfect.
You got rid of them.
All right.
Good job.
Now you can finish up.
Are we live again?
We've been live the whole time.
No, I have been. Oh, excellent. All right. I wouldn't have said those things about you then. Thanks to our guests for showing up today. Thanks to everybody for listening to the show. If you're interested in supporting the show, again, patreon.com/slamfireradio. You can also visit our website, slamfireradio.com. You can click on the links for Cabela's. They throw us a shekel or two when you purchase anything following that link. As well, please join one or more of our national firearms associations, such as the CCFR, for they are awesome. You can check us out on Gun Owners of Canada, and you can like us on Facebook. Anything to add there, Adriel?